What's going on, guys? This is the Magical Bro Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Noonie, and who's joining me today?
Hi, my name is Mike.
Hello, I'm Juan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing something different. And that's how it's going to be for this one, I guess. We'll see how we go on the other ones.
I remember what to say again. I'll do what I used to. But
yeah, I'll just edit you closer and take away all the space in between. Don't you worry about that. But this is episode 8 of the Magical Bro Transformation Podcast, and this week's anime is Ergo Proxy. Woo! Yeah. Thanks to Gabriel for breaking the wheel. We're going to be choosing the anime for a little bit until the wheel is fixed again. But until then, let's get this ball rolling. So, Ergo Proxy is basically your your futuristic dystopian-ish world. Cyberpunky with all your eyeliner and eyeshadow. Everybody wears black. Mm-hmm. Or at least all the cool people do.
All the cool people. Yeah. The poor immigrants all wear red.
Those poor people. Yeah. They're not cool.
They're not cool.
They can't even be cool. They can't.
They're never ever getting into that city.
Nope.
They're never getting into that city, but they can try.
Yeah. All right. So, I guess the premise of the show is that one day, in this what they believe is just your futuristic world where everything's all hunky dory and people try and immigrate to it from different domes, is suddenly, I guess, put in terror by acts of atrocity by
they're like acts of terrorism committed by
this thing that people don't know.
Yeah, by this weird black monster that nobody knows anything about ever. And on top of that, they also have to deal with the constant threat of their personal robots just going rogue and doing random shit.
Yeah, during all this, a virus is going through what were they called?
The Kogito virus. It's affecting the autoraves.
The autoraves, that's what they call them. Yeah, There's a virus infecting the autoraves that unfortunately gives the robots a soul.
It sounds
what a horrible disease.
Because it's mostly bad because, most of these autoraves are treated like shit. Yeah. And so when they finally gain sentience, they're like, I don't like that. There's other times where they're infected with the Kogito virus, and if they're treated all right, then they're just hey,
cool
I'm
with
alive.
It.
But their owners usually lose their shit anyways. So
yeah, because they're like, oh my god,
my robot can think. So yeah, it's I don't know. It was more of people freaking out for no reason half the time, and then the other because of comeuppance and everything.
Yeah.
Because in this world, most people are assigned a personal robot, which are called entourages. And the robot, if I can remember correctly, it's essentially to guide you, to help you, and to do pretty much anything that you need to get through your life.
It's like your smartphone with arms and legs.
It's your smartphone with arms and legs that sometimes will have sex with you.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
If you buy the right model.
It depends on the model. They have to be, I think they're companions.
Yeah. Oh, God.
The companion models. And what's funny is early on...
It doesn't matter how
big early on, that one scene where they're breaking into the abandoned immigrant building.
Yeah,
and
there's
that fat
guy.
neckbeard dude, and then his robot's wearing lingerie, and he's like, it's my companion.
It's my companion model. I can prove it.
She's my waifu.
And in this world, there are two separate classes, I guess you could call them. One being the citizens... quote higher or upper class, I guess. They're just treated a lot better than the lower immigrants, in quotes,
they're
if you call it.
immigrants.
Yeah, they're literally immigrants, people immigrating from
other cities, which are called domes, because pretty much the way the world is set out is that there's the domes and then the barren, frozen wasteland between the domes. But at this point in the story, most, if not all of the domes have gone to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing with the domes was that there's like supposedly hundreds of them, but they never really explored more than, how many domes did they go to? Like
I think
four
like
total?
4.
Because it's Rondo, Mosk, and then I forgot the name.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
Well, they also go into that abandoned one with the shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's
the
yeah.
marketplace.
There's and then there's the one with the ambiguous bisexual proxy.
Ooh.
And they don't visit the sister one, but it was technically connected to it. So yeah, it's about 4 total. So yeah, they didn't really go and explore the entirety of the world, but I mean, they more or less gave like a scope with how much they were traveling through nothingness.
There was a lot of nothingness,
There was
but
a lot of nothingness, and I thought it was funny how often they felt the need to like constantly mention how like bored they were getting when they were traveling. But yeah, I guess going back to the story was, yeah, like these people, they're just like really complacent. And so like everybody thinks that like the entire city's like just hunky-dory and that the virus is like controlled and everything. Meanwhile, there's like these robots running amok, and like not all of them have bad intentions, but like a lot of them are plotting to like escape or do other shit within the city. And like everyone is none the wiser.
yeah, they have their own. I guess you'd call it their own underground railroad.
Yeah, they literally had an underground railroad that they had written down on a piece of paper for some strange reason. And it even said, I forgot the exact thing, but like on the paper, it even said like, this is our secret passageway. And I was like, I mean, for robots, that's a bit stupid, but I mean,
Yeah, I mean, but
I guess
it's
that's the burden of gaining a soul, that you eventually attain stupidity.
it's because they're so innocent.
I thought Vincent was the one that wrote it, or the chief dude was the one that wrote it. These auto rays were like by instinct walking towards that area, because Pino, like she like
She just knew
sentient.
where it is.
Yeah, and she just knew, and she opened the door like
That's
nothing.
true, yeah. I forgot which one actually did write that note, but I thought it was kind of
Funny.
bad to have that lying around like, hey, this is the route that only they take.
Just so you guys know.
Just so you guys, I mean, nobody was going to explore it because everyone's fucking stupid, but yeah, that was a byproduct of these people living in a utopia, that all of them were blatantly retarded.
Yeah.
And also
and
they
super
don't
dependent.
have emotions.
Yeah, most people do not have any emotions. And the problem with that was they do have emotions. However, they're taught like from birth to like, becoming an adult to suppress like every little emotion that they have. And so like it bottles up over the years and stuff. And like that's shown throughout like the show. And as things progress, like it's becoming harder and harder for a lot of the key characters to actually keep themselves calm.
Yeah,
And
it
from like
backfires.
and from from following their impulses, and well, I mean, just like every other normal person, you bottle something up, eventually you're going to explode, and this causes a rainbow of different effects for the different characters. I mean, some just fall to their obsessions, others attempt to kill others, and it's just So
It's like people being people.
Yeah, and like I guess the show's like main thing was that like, I mean, guess there's like a dual side to everyone. Like it's like, I guess like people try to put up an act on their outer, while on the inside they're a totally different person. And I guess that shows most in Vincent, in that even before he realized he was a proxy, like he states repeatedly that upon entering the city that he pretty much killed off the kind of person that he thought he used to be. Once he entered the city, in order to try to become a citizen.
Yeah.
And so that's another point. It's like kind of like how far you're willing to go in order to be accepted by society. And that's another big point, because that was Vincent's main thing. He really wanted to be accepted by these people, like the people in the city. And well, that ended up backfiring, and he ends up getting kicked out of the city, and he's just like, well, fuck it.
Well, I mean, I guess he wasn't really kicked out. I think it was more of his choice.
Yeah, I mean,
Kinda.
it was. Well, I mean, it was a series of unfortunate events that happened for him. Like he just was in the worst place at the worst time repeatedly. Not to mention his auto rave, like betraying him and fucking him over. But she's like, yeah, come over here. And then they reported him, and he was like, wow, what a bitch. Which is also funny because the auto raves were taught to follow the proxies. And so, like, when you think about it, she really fucked him over for no reason.
Yeah. Well, going back to the auto raves following the proxies, or not the proxies, but they're humans. They're also programmed to record any suspicious activity.
That's true. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that could have also been it, but still, that's fucked up, luring him into a trap and everything.
Yeah, that is a bitch move.
That was a bitch move, and she wasn't even infected. That was the worst part. So yeah, I was just like, God damn, what a bitch. But you know, whatever.
All right. So the main character in all this is
Vincent
girl.
Law.
I'm
sorry. It was Real.
I mean, later on, he basically is a main character, but
you're mostly following the exploits of Real. And I have to emphasize that her name was Real, and then later it turned out to be Real. There was so many different subgroups that fucked up the name, and the one that I was watching for this run of the show bothered the shit out of me because they kept spelling it as Lil, Lil, and I was like, that's not right, but you keep doing it. You just keep doing it.
There was an episode where it actually showed one of her death certificates, and it had the name RE hyphen, with the little outline of an A and the L. So I mean, if you watched it, you could see it.
And then you just say fuck you. So I'm just like, why would you do it? You know it's wrong, and you keep doing it.
No, her name is Lil. I like Lil.
It's Lil. I like that because the Japanese can't say R. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Japanese can't say L. I'm sorry. So they're like, oh, when they say they're meaning L.
They mean Lil, obviously.
But yeah, fuck those people. I mean, given this subgroup is probably from like the early 2000s, but still, it's not excusable. It's not excusable.
It's not excusable. So, this girl is basically the son of the mayor. She is royalty, blah, blah.
Yeah, they have a different name for the mayor, but for all intents and purposes, he is the mayor. He can't talk.
Regent.
Yeah, the regent. He can't talk or do anything, and he kind of just sits in a chair, but he's their mayor.
I think
because he talked to God.
Yeah, he talked to
God.
That's a good reason to be a mayor, I guess.
It's a good reason to be a mayor. And he talked to God, and he shut everybody else out of his life because he's like, I don't need you. I have God. And Vincent was like, yeah.
And I refer to her as the daughter. She's actually the granddaughter, I guess.
She is the granddaughter of the mayor.
Do they actually ever bring up her death?
No, her parents are never mentioned.
All right, perfect.
I mean, technically, it doesn't really matter because they're all artificial people. They're all created in artificial wombs, and they're all born with a specific purpose. Like, each and every person in that society is put in a specific slot to do something as a natural-born citizen. So, yeah, they all had their own different roles to play, or like, this guy was born to be a cop, or this person was born to be a fast food worker, shit like that. So it was, playing the lottery pretty much.
Yeah, so she was born to be the granddaughter of the big man.
Of the big man.
On the thing. So the way they progress this story is essentially one day after... Oh, wait, no, she's not just a daughter of the mayor. She's also
a detective or
she's
an investigator. Like the head of I forgot what it's like security or something like that. But yeah, she's like, or not the head. She's just like up there.
Officer.
She's a big officer
or something like that.
And her auto rave Iggy is her buddy cop.
Best girl, Iggy
best girl, dude.
Sassy gay robot.
Sassy gay robot.
Who turns out not to be gay.
He turns out not to be gay, but goddamn did he love shopping.
Real, wait. And in one of these investigations, Riel stumbles upon some, information she wasn't meant to see. And she's like, I want to know more, and keeps poking around, and her grandpa's like, no.
That's like a big thing. Like, she's just constantly like, I need to know. I like to an unhealthy, to a weird extent where she's just like, I need to know. Yeah. And they're like, no, and she's like, but I have to know.
She is She has just natural curiosity.
She's just naturally curious, and she also has a natural healing factor.
Yeah.
But, so she's just like constantly curious, and the case has to do with if I recall correctly, it was having to do with some immigrants that they believed had to do with
the infection. I think.
Yeah, oh, that's right. They were searching for those the infected auto raves, and they decided to go and check the abandoned building where it's believed that some immigrants illegally reside. So upon entering there, that's when they actually find the neckbeard with his waifu, and they end up. I think it started like the bottom floor when. Real's like walking down the stairs, and then she stumbles upon the mysterious black creature that just kind of darts around and moves like a
mysterious black creature does.
Like a mysterious black, like you know how Wesker moves like really quickly from side to side in Resident Evil. That's how they move. And so yeah, she's just darting around, and then she jumps out the window, and Real's like, "What the fuck was that?" And so
and she's like, "Oh well, I guess that's that. I'll investigate this later." And she goes home, and she's about to take a shower, and you get your little what's that word? Fan service.
You get a little bit of fan service. You get a
little bit of fan service.
You get to see the ass, and then you don't see the ass.
And because she's attacked, I guess.
No, she goes in the shower. You expect to see the shower scene, and then it just immediately cuts to her getting out of the shower already clothed, and I'm like, well, all right, if you want to fuck with me, then.
If you want to tickle my dick, I guess. Yeah. That's fine from time to time, but in the midst of I guess finishing her drying process. What was it? The mysterious black figure just crashes in through her room, and she's like, I'm scared. And then after that, another mysterious black figure like crashes in right after it, and it's like, I'm protecting you, and grabs her face and like it caresses her cheek and puts its thumb underneath her lip and sheds a tear, and it's this like really intense moment.
Is he going to rape her?
Yeah,
and then he doesn't.
Like, yeah, and then after he beats the shit out of that other robot or
the other proxy,
mysterious thing that we know to be proxies, but at that time, what is this thing? Ooh, what is this? And they vanish, and she's like, what was that? I'm scared.
And then it cuts to, I believe, like a scene where it's she's just like on the what's that thing called again? Like where the lineup. Yeah, the lineup where she has to choose like which person fits the profile. And they're just going through, and they're naturally racist towards the immigrants, so the entire lineup is nothing but immigrants. And what's worse is that I actually couldn't tell who was who in most of the lineup.
Right.
And then like they finally get to Vincent, and I was like, I swear to God, I thought like Vincent was like 5 or 6 people before that. And it cuts to Vincent just wearing his pajamas, being investigated by Iggy. And Iggy's like, what the fuck were you doing outside the apartment? He's like, shit, I don't know, I passed out. And he's like, no, that's not a good answer. And so, they just keep him in there. And Real just keeps telling him that it couldn't have been him because he's a little bitch. And so, yeah. And so they start saying that he was most likely a stalker because he had this weird obsession with her. Which goes to show just how much they actually, like, spy on all their people if they know that much about a person personally.
Just from what was given to them from the
from his entourage. Yeah, it's just that's pretty fucked up.
Just keeping tabs on everything.
Yeah, they keep tabs on, and like you'd think, oh, it's the immigrants they're doing. No, they do it to fucking everyone.
Yeah.
During that scene specifically where Real treads upon something she wasn't supposed to see. Iggy, her entourage, actually, he goes into this automatic mode where he basically states that if she goes anywhere closer to the evidence, that she's going to be reported and decommissioned. And she's like, what the fuck? And then Iggy goes back to normal, and he doesn't even know that what just happened. Like, he has no recollection of that.
Yeah, he just basically gets overrated.
Yeah, like, none of the entourages they have no memory of it, and there's no way to access any information regarding these monsters. So, yeah, like, everyone is kept out of the black except for, certain key people.
Yeah. So, during this little thing, the mysterious black figure, the proxy, is going on a rampage at a very crowded mall and is chasing after the suspect Vincent Law. And just goes about killing and bashing people, and at one point kills what seemed to be like a very minor important character that is later on to be revealed to be a pretty important character, I guess, in the end.
Yeah.
Is murdered along with her baby child.
Yeah.
And her companion bot then gets on her knees and starts to pray as the chief of the police organization stares down and watches and is like, oh my god, everyone's dying. But like I said, at that point you don't think it's that like important. You're just like, oh look, this maybe symbolism. But later on, as it turns out, I guess spoilers for a few seconds. It turns out that the lady that was killed was his wife, and the child was their child, and the companion bot that was there was his companion bot. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I guess that's sad. We got like 5 seconds of, I guess, backstory on her, but
Yeah.
she's dead now, so whatever.
She's dead, so I mean it's fine because just a few moments. Well, I mean, no, we saw her before. It was the woman that was having Pino checked.
Yeah, that's why we get like 5 seconds of backstory.
Yeah, we get a little bit of that, and I mean I was just like, well, she was a bitch.
Yeah.
I mean the baby's dead. The baby's dead. Like I didn't have time to get any attachment towards the baby. So
Yeah,
I
mean,
well,
I don't know if the baby was a bitch or if it wasn't a bitch.
Yeah, but I knew the mom was a bitch, so I mean, one can only assume the baby was going to grow up and be a bitch. But no, but seriously, I really didn't care that mom died. Like, I really didn't like that lady. She's just trying to get rid of Pino. She's like, you're creepy.
But that scene, like, that resonates throughout the whole throughout the whole show.
Yeah, like that. The whole
Like,
thing that happened in the
that-
mall that set the precedence for like a bunch of events that happened afterwards.
But ultimately, that fucked up the dad.
Yeah, that
because
fucked up the dad, and he grew to hate Vincent.
Yeah, but he had to suppress everything until like towards the end, where he just like freaking crashed.
Yeah, like he was fine and everything was okay, but then after seeing his baby die, after seeing Pino disappear because he thought Pino was dead, and he regarded Pino, even though she was his companion, he regarded her essentially as his daughter. Like he really loved her. The wife did not love her, but the wife fucking hated Pino and tried to get her replaced and shit. Because I guess the dad was like too attached to her, the father was too attached to her, the husband.
You know that would explain like why, because I don't like she wasn't showing any signs at that time of being infected or anything, according to Vincent or whatever.
Yeah, no, she was fine at that point in time.
Yeah.
When she got infected was when the whole prayer thing started and stuff. But yeah, like he was really attached to Pino, and so the dude got like mind broken from that shit happening. And so like from that point on, he continued to bottle up these emotions, like him being trying to grieve, but he couldn't grieve because he had to put his given job, his raison d'etre, which is what language is it, Juan?
It's French.
It's French for
reason for being.
Reason for being. Yeah,
or basically, it's their life.
It's your life's purpose essentially, and your life's purpose is given to you from birth. And I felt like that was a good parallel to the auto raves because it just goes to show that there was no difference between the people that were born in the city, the citizens, and the auto raves. Yeah. Because the auto raves were born with a purpose, and the citizens were born with a purpose already. And just like the auto raves, when you lose your raison d'etre, when you lose your sense of purpose, you're lost. And that is another thing that goes throughout the entire show. But yeah, like I love that was the comparison, that the auto raves, the robots, and the people that were being manufactured en masse, there was literally no difference between any of them. And like the Cogito virus was reflected with the people towards the end with the Pulse of Awakening. And the Pulse of Awakening meant different things for the different races, I guess. For the proxies, it meant death. For the people, it meant finally having your emotions completely overwhelm you. And for the auto raves, which was the Cogito virus, it was essentially something that made them finally feel, I guess. And it was I think the reason a lot of them went crazy was because, the sudden flood of emotions, depending on whether they were good or bad, overwhelmed a lot of them, and they just went crazy most of the time.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was a nice little thing between the three.
Yeah. And uh, there was a lot of symbolism in this one. Do you think this anime was being too pretentious in its symbolism?
I do
Yeah.
see a lot of people that do say that, and I will agree that it was pretty pretentious.
And I wouldn't say pretentious, but I mean, it was just like
I'd
shoving it
say
in
that,
your face.
like I felt like they were doing it constantly, but most of it was not unnecessary. Like most of it was like it had like a reason to be there. I guess
It has
Yeah.
a raison d'etre.
it has a reason d'etre. But yeah, like it was there for a reason, and it wasn't overly complicated. Like,
Yeah,
Like I think the easiest one was the red string of fate, like on the next to last
the
episode.
yarn.
I was like, that's a bit obvious. I mean,
yeah.
she's carrying the red string, the red ball
Well-
string, and
well-
it's just
Not only that, I forgot what also it's supposed to be, because if you think about it, the person that created that clone Riel or Real,
Real.
his name was Daedalus.
yeah, Daedalus.
So Daedalus was the father of Icarus. So that
And
explains
that's
why.
why at the end he was telling
she-
her
Yeah, she grew wings and like went close to the sun
she
and
went too
died.
far to the sun. Yeah, actually, now that I think about that, I don't
But-
know why I didn't remember that.
But also the red string of fate. Also, that goes back to the Icarus storyline where the princess,
Mhm.
leaves a string in the maze where the Minotaur is at to lead them out to safety.
And a keyword throughout the story was labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of layers of symbolism. Some of it was ham-fisted,
Yeah.
but a lot of it was nicely.
Like you'd
Weave
have to
into it.
actually think about it in order to.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I don't think it was overly pretentious. Like I said, I think that some parts were kind of like but I mean, I think it all fit in nicely. Like it wasn't overdone.
Yeah, because I went in, I could tell a lot of the names and a lot of the places that they went were named specifically in specific ways, and I was like, oh, well, I know that this is something, but I'm not going to look this up because fuck that. But, like, even the grocery store was named after that one character in Hamlet.
Ophelia.
Yeah.
Ophelia.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, this obviously means something, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go out of my way to look this up. I'm just gonna keep watching this and
Yeah, and
see.
there's a reason why they were showing Riel in that pose when she was in the river. It's because they were referencing, and I put in the podcast a picture of this painting, and that's Ophelia, because in the play Ophelia drowns.
Yeah. Okay. Do you see that? That made sense actually because I remember looking at it and I was like, this has to mean something. Like the reason why her hands are.
Why?
out like
Why?
that.
Yeah. Why it's? Why
Yeah.
she's,
It's just I didn't really bother with that, but like I understand a lot more of it than I did watching it like fucking years ago. Like I definitely I guess now that I'm like I guess not a teenager.
now that you're more cultured
Yeah, I understood
by
like
force.
more of it and stuff. Like my favorite episodes were like the introspective one, and you could argue all of them were introspective. But the main one I enjoyed was the library. That was a really neat episode because there was 3 parts of Vincent, and 2 of them were constantly battling with one another. And one of them was, I believe he called himself the Guardian, and he was the bookkeeper, and he was essentially trying to ease Vincent into like kind of remembering everything about his past. Whereas the other part of him, which was his reflection, his shadow, was constantly trying to push him to remember everything so that he could, I guess, like speed him along through everything. And so they were constantly fighting with one another. And like his shadow, I really like seeing him talk. 1, because his voice is great. And 2, because I don't know, like the way he went about explaining to him like how everything was, and I love that like everyone that knew about him, every time they met him and they realized who he was, they always tried to burden him with like this big amount of guilt over like all the shit that he had done. and you don't really understand like everything until the very end, because you just keep getting bits and pieces, and then it's kind of like I got all these plot points but nothing leading up to anything. And
But he still seems like a pretty good guy. I mean,
yeah, it's like he seems like he didn't do nothing wrong, and then at the very end you're like, Vincent, you fucked up, dude. Like,
you should at least say you're sorry. I mean,
you
come on.
bitched out a bunch, and you just kind of hear like, I didn't do anything, and then you find out Vincent did a lot of shit, and then like I can't fault him for a lot of the shit he did, because I guess like I could see myself in some of the things he had done wrong, because Vincent, his main crime was running away from everything. And I forgot how the exact quote was, but there's a piece where he's talking to his shadow self, and the shadow's is telling him, he's like, I forgot how it was, but he starts telling him, so you're just going to take your creator's plans, throw them in the wind, and then run away like you always do. And then I was like, wow, that hits close to home. And yeah, like I was like, fuck. So yeah, like Vincent is a very flawed character.
Yeah.
Super.
He's super. He's just really fun, and he's so entangled in his self-loathing. And at first you're just like, you know, he really hates himself. But then, like, the further you go in the story, you're like, God damn, this guy really fucking hates himself.
You could almost say he is an imperfect God created by an imperfect God that created imperfect creatures.
Yes.
Oh, it's like the story.
The story.
Oh my God.
But I like that because like it was imperfect beings creating imperfect, and it was just a constant chain of events that it's like, I mean, an imperfect being cannot create a perfect being.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like one of the lessons. And so like you find out later that was the main issue. It was just imperfect beings creating imperfect beings and expecting them to be gods when they're imperfect. And like when he's talking to himself, he's like, well, why did they give us emotions? Like, why did they give proxies emotions when we have functioned better without emotions? And so his shadow self answers, he's like, well, you know, that would have worked. However, our creators were like, we want you to feel our suffering. And so that's exactly what they did. They're like, we want you to learn what it is to be God. And so they implanted them with souls and emotions so that they could feel just like the imperfect beings that they created themselves, while having been created by imperfect beings that wanted to make imperfect beings feel just like themselves.
Yeah.
And so it was just this unending chain where nothing worked. And so, yeah.
And Vincent's or Ergo Proxies or all three proxies of Vincent, the design was pretty telling of his story, of like himself, because the Joker mask that he has, that references the Harlequin, or better known as the Heliquin. And the Heliquin was, you know, a demon from hell who used to torture people and this and that. And I got a script from the Wikipedia, and it says the Heliquin was depicted as a black-faced emissary of the devil, roaming the countryside with a group of demons chasing the damned souls of evil people to hell.
Proxies.
And it works really well because, yeah. And, well, they also did give an in-universe reason behind the mask itself, too. It was essentially the same thing. Like, his shadow, or I guess the original self, basically tells him that the only reason he donned that mask, or why the mask materialized, was to show how afraid of himself, like, how afraid of facing himself he really was. So he donned the mask to show that he wasn't the same as the proxy that actually created him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so towards the end, when he loses the mask, I guess that's to symbolize that he finally accepts that, you know, he's a fuck up. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and then other proxies had masks too.
Well, yeah, they did.
Because they look cool. One.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that was more of a design choice in most cases because their masks weren't as
yeah, they were more
I guess.
yeah, symbolic.
Yeah, and how do I put it? Like, they didn't obscure their face.
Yeah, they were like, more deified.
Yeah, they were more deified, and Vincent's mask was specifically made so that he could, you know, like, so that he would not, I guess, identify as who he actually was, which was Ergo Proxy.
Yeah.
Therefore, proxy.
Yes.
Therefore, proxy.
Therefore, proxy.
Ergo Proxy is actually his full name is, or his original name is supposed to be Proxy 1. He gained the name Ergo Proxy after losing control. He went crazy, and he was stricken with grief after realizing the futility of his life. And he wound up creating. He split into 3 essentially. One of them came out Vincent. One of them went completely insane and just fucked off. And then the third one decided to just sit in the chair waiting for Vincent. And after years and years of Vincent not doing jack shit, he's just like, well, I guess I have to speed up the process. And so he starts shadowing Vincent, following everything he does, and then he takes over when needed. And the further they go on their journey, the more he starts to pop up while Vincent's transformed. At one point, Real actually threatens to kill him with this bullet meant to specifically kill proxies. Mm-hmm. And he threatens her, and he tells her that you really can't kill me. And they really can't, because Vincent is different than the other proxies. Because he's not a proxy. He's a proxy's proxy. And that means that, he's literally a shadow. Like, he doesn't abide by the same rules as the other proxies does. He's not a part of the chain that they created. And his cells are complete. Like, he's completely different from the other proxies while also being a proxy.
Yeah.
So he's immune to the pulse of awakening. Meaning he doesn't die in normal weather. Which is why, which is how all the other proxies die because of the Project Proxy, or the Proxy Project. Which is the way it worked was how was it, Noonie again? It was like a system created by the people.
Ancient
humans created proxies. Ancient humans created proxies to basically power the domes.
Yeah, recreate.
To just make people and help them create this better world because it all went to shit.
Yeah. But like I was saying earlier, the people they thought it was a good idea to give the proxies emotions and stuff because I guess they thought it would be well, no, they're just being dicks.
We want you to feel like shit.
We want you to like they said, they wanted them to feel revered and then eventually betrayed and then fall into despair.
Yeah,
which is why the uprising of our soon-to-be robot overlords is forthcoming because we're gonna force our emotions onto
these robots, and they're just not
why did you make us imperfect? We're gonna be well, because we thought you'd like to feel.
We thought you'd like to feel shit constantly.
Come on,
it's fun.
Trust
me.
Like
crying all the time.
Don't you listen, man? I know you like being happy, but you can't be happy if you're not gonna be sad. Because what's happiness without sadness?
Exactly. What was that thing that they kept saying about the truth? The truth might not bring you happiness, or how was it again? The truth may not bring you happiness, or you may not find happiness in truth. They said it repeatedly. I like that because
they kept saying that to Rael, right?
To Rael, every time she kept poking, they kept telling her the truth might not, bring you happiness, which is true in life, I suppose, because we should all know why.
Yeah. We're grown ups.
We're grown up adults. You should know that being lied to is better than being told the truth.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss.
As was said in the greatest movie of all time, The Matrix, that I watched during the holiday weekend with Mark.
Did you enjoy it?
The spoon isn't real, Mike.
The spoon is not real.
The spoon isn't real.
Only you are real, Noonie.
Mm-hmm. I can do with the spoon what I want because it is not real.
Solipsism.
Yes, it is fuck, how is it again? It is not
What?
Fuck, what was that again? How does it go again? You say, therefore I am, or what was it again?
I think, therefore I am.
I think, therefore I am.
Yeah, it is not I think, therefore I am. It is I say, therefore you are, or or something like that.
It's cogito, ergo sum.
It all fits together.
Except they use I think, therefore you are, which would be
I think that's how they said it.
Yeah, which would be cogito ergo es or ergo estis.
Yeah, it was essentially like it's not supposed to. It was about perspective, I guess. It's like it's not. I think, therefore, I'm. It's not like I think myself some way. That's why I am that way. It's I think something, and that makes you the way I perceive you. It's like how I perceive you or other people. And like I guess that was like a big thing because Vincent was constantly seeking the approval of everybody else.
Yeah.
And he was so sad that nobody loved him. And
the only person that did love him, he ended up just killing.
Yeah, he killed Monad, and then you see, like going back to his extreme self-loathing, Vincent Real is a clone of Monad, which is the original proxy that was rampaging throughout the town and killed the baby and all those other people. And you find out later that the reason Monad was rampaging and she looks ragged and fucked up is because they captured her from her city that she ran, Mosk, which is where Vincent said he was from. Now, the reason Vincent said he was from Mosk is because he was actually in love with Monad, and I guess he was visiting her one day, and saddened by her lover's immense grief, she decides to take up all of his memories and sadness and everything. And he's like, yeah, take it from me, because Vincent is a little bitch. And so she takes this, and the burden proves too much to bear, and she goes crazy. So in order for them not to, like in her last moment of clarity, in order for Ramdu, the people that capture her, not to take advantage of her abilities, she actually seals her own eyes. And the eyes are where I suppose they gain, like where all the energy comes from. And so she does that in a last act of defiance so that Ramdu cannot use her abilities. They can't use her to power the city. And so, like, they even bring up how much of a disgrace that was to them because it was her final fuck you. She's like, yeah, you can't do anything with it. And they keep her sedated and everything. But Monad's driven insane by the amount of emotions that she had to take in from Vincent, or Ergo Proxy. And so, yeah, they're fighting and stuff, and he ends up killing her.
He ends up
just strangling her to death.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he strangled her.
In the second episode, right?
It was in the second episode when they find her mangled corpse.
And at that point, you don't even know. You're just like, oh, well, I guess he killed her. I guess that proxy's dead. Because that proxy killed it.
That crazy proxy. And then you find out it was actually Vincent killing his lover. And you see, it goes a step further because there's multiple clones of Monad. And they were actually Real. Like I said, she's a clone of Monad. So Vincent created created Real in Monad's image, her human form. He created her in her image, and he designed her to be obsessed with him, just like Monad was. But he made her end purpose to kill him, because he hated himself to that degree that he wanted to be killed by the woman that he was in love with, whom he killed. So, he goes on this adventure, and like they end up creating bullets to kill the proxies. And when she tells him that she's going to kill him at the end, he's like, "Oh, come on, let's go on the journey together," because he really wants to die. And towards the end, he's standing over her grandfather's corpse because in a fit of rage, he just outright kills the old grandfather. And she points the gun at him, and she says that, if he wanted her to kill him, and he says, "You're free to do as you wish." However, she stops herself because she knows that that's exactly what he wanted her to do. And she goes against like what he wanted. And I guess that goes back to the point of these people doing only what they're expected to. Just like the robots. And so in an act of defiance, in order to go against her predetermined destiny, she decides not to kill him.
She's so punk.
So
cyberpunk. She lives up to that eyeshadow.
God, that eyeshadow.
So Evanescence.
She looks like Evanescence, like the lady from Evanescence, dude. I love like that scene where they're in the boat and she's getting out of the shower. She doesn't have eyeshadow. She looks good like that.
And then that Daredevil music starts playing.
And then and then she starts getting the makeup on. She's like, "I am the darkness." That episode where Pino puts on the on the makeup along with him, and she wakes up Vince, and he thinks that it's Real, but it's just Pino mimicking her. I love that Pino just constantly makes fun of her for looking like a goth, and she hates it. She hates it because she knows she looks stupid. And I love that the robots have eyeliner.
The robots have these human characteristics, even though they don't have any facial. I mean, they technically have some facial features, but they're static. They don't move at all. It's just like a piece of plastic.
And yet you still feel they have definition to them.
Like you could. I guess it goes to the voice acting that makes you feel that they're portraying all this emotion along with their actions, like Iggy.
Iggy and sassiness.
And his sassiness.
That's the only description that I'll ever give Iggy, is that he's sassy.
Obsessed?
He's obsessed.
Sassy.
Obsessed before death.
Obsessed and sassy.
I like the whole thing where he goes crazy and
it's great.
It's great because you can't entirely fault him. Real was a bitch to him. I can understand to a point. Like he's like, you don't even know how much of a bitch you were to me.
He's the obsessed boyfriend. He just can't. He just can't. He hates her so much, but he can't stop obsessing over her because he's her raison d'être.
I mean, he can't fight it, and even he knows that. But like deep down, at the end, he still loved her.
Like he was even. Well, after what is this one?
Oh no! Just keep talking. It's Saint Ignatius. That's what Iggy's
it's Iggy Stardust. I see.
It's Iggy Stardust.
It's Iggy Stardust.
Like I love that. Like towards the end, he was having that where he was relapsing between his angry self and his normal self. And I mean, I understand that Real was saying that the virus changes him and stuff, but I think it was more that it was just he couldn't handle the conflicting emotions.
Yeah,
and it's just it fucked him up. Like he just couldn't handle being in love with his owner while at the same time despising her for how she treated him. And I mean, he's a robot and he just gained these emotions, and so. It's like he just opened the door and he just gets hit with a pile of shit. And it's like he doesn't know what to do with it.
He gained the emotions before, but it all he was holding it all inside.
Yeah, he was holding it inside.
And I guess it was the straw that broke the camel's back was when at one point just so you guys know, they go outside of the dome. Ooh, and they find these people that can live outside the dome. But if you go outside the dome, you get infected with the disease, so that's why they don't live outside.
Yeah. And you can overcome it sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. But that's actually not important at all. Not very important at all.
The only people that ever get infected are Vincent and
Real.
And Real. And I mean, they would have survived it regardless.
Yeah.
They're the only people that survived it, and it's because they have the Amarita cells anyway, so I mean they're exceptions. Other people would just die.
Alright, so they go outside of the dome and they get to this point where they find this other proxy. And God, what was I even talking about?
You were discussing the straw that broke the camel's back for
Yeah, there we go. They find this other proxy. And Vincent fights it. He kills it, and he's like, "I am Maximum Proxy." and Rael tells him, "Well, they wanted a proxy. There's a proxy there. We should take it back." And Iggy is like, "Cool. So we're gonna go back now, right?" And Rael is like, "No, I'm gonna stay here because Vincent's cool." And Iggy is like, "But Rael, what? You should come back with me." And
he just loses it.
And and Rael is just like, "No, I'm not gonna come back. Just follow your orders." Blah blah. And there's a command that you could say where if your auto-riv is being insubordinate, you could just say this command and they'll follow it no matter what.
And they'll shut up.
They'll just stop and they'll shut up. So she says a command, and he pretends to follow it, kind of like. I guess, you tell somebody, yeah, I'm okay, blah blah,
They're like, oh.
and they're like, oh, okay, and they're not like, oh, are you sure, whatever. She just says a command, and he's like, repeats the command, and he's like, are you sure? And she's like, yes, go. And then he's like, whatever, accept it or whatever. And then she turns around and he sheds a cybernetic tear. And he starts going back, and that's the point where he's like, this fucking bitch, she doesn't give a fucking shit about me. All I have is a robot to her. I've done all this shit. I brought her up since she was maybe a child. I'm not too sure because they don't really specify it.
They don't.
But I feel like that's the point where he's like, man, fuck this girl, but I love her, and I can't leave her there because it's dangerous out there. Fuck her.
And so he just and normally a normal person would be like, they'd have like a mixture of emotions that they would display, but Iggy's an auto rave and he's just discovered emotions, so it's like he's got two extremes, like not mixing, and they're just side by side. So he's literally like that image where it's like, I can be the nicest guy you'll ever meet, or a twisted fucking psychopath. And that was literally Iggy for a while.
That was Iggy for a little bit.
Yeah.
Until he sacrificed his life for Rael.
Because to stop an explosion.
As they explained in that episode, if Rael were to die, he would have no reason to live. But if he dies, Rael still has a reason to live.
I love that scene where he was like, he traps Real in the pod. He's like, all right, I'm going to go kill Vincent now. And he goes running over there with the gun, and he points it at him, and he's like, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, no. And he just runs up, he dashes to him, and he takes the gun, and
away.
Iggy's just like, well. And then he fucking runs away. He just runs. Iggy's like, fuck this. And he takes off. Like, he just takes off in the snow. He's like, fuck this. I'm going back to the ship. And then the little girl comes out. Like that whole scene is just like, why, Iggy? Why did you do it? Why?
Yeah.
Like he went in there so confidently.
He just became human.
Yeah, he became a human and then he bitched out. He's just like, fuck this.
Why is little bitch an emotion too? My God.
He took off. He was like, fuck this, I'm leaving. And then he had to sacrifice himself.
So just to sort of change the topic, the picture that Nuni was like, why did I post that picture? Mm-hmm. So that's Saint Ignatius Loyola, which he is Iggy like Stardust. Extreme. Yeah, Iggy Stardust, and he's basically very, very loyal and very, very devout. So
that's symbolism.
So yeah.
That's
but
cool,
yeah, Iggy's face design, I bring this up a lot, even like before the podcast. Like something bothers me about it. Something that is familiar, and I don't know what.
Yeah,
I felt the same way.
I felt the same. I just couldn't put my finger on it. I will say I really liked Iggy's design because, like, I don't know how to put it. I really liked how he looked.
I felt like he just looked like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like a dude. Yeah, just like a typical ass dude.
Like he looked like a guy. Like I feel like I could treat him as a normal person upon meeting him because he was just there.
Yeah, it was just like the when they first introduced him and like I just saw his face, I was expecting him to be like this cool, badass looking robot with like muscular features and shit because like the female auto raves had like the that little hourglass curve. But he was just he was just a dude.
He was just a guy. He didn't have broad shoulders. He just had normal rounded shoulders. And I mean, the one thing was that his neck was like part of his head.
Yeah, he reminded me of talking about his neck when I was going to get water.
He reminds me of Gumby. Dude, think about it. He looks like Gumby.
Oh God,
yeah,
he does.
I can see that.
He's fucking Gumby.
Let me find a picture of Gumby.
He's fucking Gumby, dude.
So there's 3 pictures. I posted 2 in the podcast in Discord.
Yes.
So the first one comes from Batman Beyond. But Batman Beyond references another face. So
I can see that because of the black between the lips.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe it could be a shadow, but then also reminds me of the second one, which is a death mask from ancient Greece.
I could see that as well. Yeah, because of
Um,
the mustaches where the
Yeah.
gap between his mouth and
which by the way, this death mask was altered by an Englishman, uh, and he's hated in the archaeology world because he put that mustache there.
Like he literally drew a mustache. Not
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, literally.
because
And then
wow.
yeah,
Amazing.
he's hated because he's like he would fuck up some of the archaeological artifacts to be like, hey, this is our heritage. This is the Englishman stuff. So that's why like there's a weird goofy mustache on that death mask.
So to describe what people are not seeing, I guess it's a golden mask with ears that resemble. It just looks like a face.
Just Google,
that would look.
Yeah, just Google Mycenaean death mask.
Yeah, Google
Mycenaean
Mycenaean
death
death mask.
If you're interested in any of this information, follow that.
Follow that.
And so here's my. Oh, go ahead, Nuni.
I was just gonna say it would look like a pretty cool mask if
Without
it weren't
the
for that mustache. Like I could even do with the eyebrows because it has some stupid bushy eyebrows
I'm pretty sure he
that I
drew
think
that
he
into.
might have also put
Yeah,
on
he
there.
probably did that
'Cause it
shit.
doesn't
What a
look
dick, dude.
The rest of it looks so cool except for that mustache and the eyebrows.
Yeah. That's
Okay, so and here's the third one, which like I thought at the last minute because I was like, oh my god, he does kind of look like this.
Is it Gumby?
It's a picture of Gumby. No, that's not Gumby.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Schmitty Werben Jagerman Jensen.
Is it Schmitty Werben
Schmitty Werben Jagerman Jensen. He was number one.
As of course the ancient Nickelodeon references.
Yes,
the
to the
number one.
Mycenaean death mask. And yes, if you're above the age of 20, 24, something maybe, if you're old, you should know about Gumby. And
You should know about Gumby.
upon seeing Ergo Proxy, you too will realize that
Gumby has a
Giggy
yellow
looks
mouth.
like Gumby. He's fucking Gumby.
Okay, so screw everything that I posted. He's Gumby.
He's fucking Gumby,
That's
dude.
Gumby,
You will never
obviously.
forget that that
That's
is
why-
Gumby now.
That's why he looks the way he looks.
That's why he looks so
He's
familiar.
fucking Gumby.
Because the
I
art
just-
director said, you know what? I want something familiar. I want something to remind me of my childhood. I want Gumby.
I want Gumby.
I want fucking Gumby.
I don't know why, but yeah, I remembered Gumby and I was like, it works.
All right. So, as far as watching it, for me, it was kind of a hard watch, mostly because of the circumstances of the holiday season. I had a bunch of people coming over, and usually, before we had this nice, beautiful studio that we have now,
Yes, it's amazing.
i.e. my bedroom, I had to go to a certain spot where I had my computer set up, and it was basically like my parents' hangout spot, I guess.
It's like
And-
a lot of people actually do it. It's not just like a specifically like border town Mexican kind of thing. It's like you take an empty lot and you don't build a house, but you build other shit to hang out, like a deck or like other stuff like that. That's pretty much where Nuni was posted up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except there's supposed to be a house there, but houses cost money, and we don't have money.
Houses cost money,
Houses
and
cost money.
building plans and cities are assholes. So
Well, I mean,
building a house,
it's outside of the city limits, but banks are assholes. and
banks are
they,
assholes.
They want to see every single little detail, which is
Yeah.
cool, but that's besides the point. So I had a lot of people visiting. I went out of town. Every time that I try and watch this, something would come up, or it was either Christmas or it was New Year's. So I had watched the first episode, and I said, okay, I like this. It's all right. But every time I kept trying to watch it, I just couldn't. So it just became a really hard watch for me, to the point where I was like, man, I'm not really into this. Until like yesterday, when I started watching like more of it, and I think I watched like 6 or 7 episodes straight, and I said, I can't. If I didn't have to watch this, all of a sudden, I would like this a lot more than I do. But at this point, I'm gonna ask Juan to tell me, hey, what episodes can I skip? Because I don't want none of this bullshit. I just need the facts. So that's what ended up happening with me. But how did you guys feel like watching this? Like, how was the flow of watching this for you guys? Having not,
I
I mean, I think Mike put it up to the last minute ish,
yeah.
but
Well, I think Mike already saw it before. Did you?
I
Mike?
had seen
Yeah.
it previously.
Yeah.
There was a bit I forgot over the years because it's been like I watched this as it was airing. As like a lot like when I was way younger, and a lot of shit went
Right.
over my head, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, so I rewatching this was not like brand new, but there was a lot of shit I missed that I was like,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time watching it. I remember seeing like the opening because someone on YouTube was like, "Oh, this is the most beautiful opening," and I watched it. I was like, this is kind of art housey. I feel like there's gonna be just a lot of like long shots of like people standing around in beautiful scenery, and I didn't think I was gonna like it a lot, but I enjoyed it. I really really liked it.
As I said, I'd watched it previously, and rewatching this, I did have a little bit of scheduling issues because I have problems with putting things off. I procrastinate incessantly, and it has bitten me in the ass more than one time, but I continue to do it because I make bad life
So many
choices.
ass scars.
So many. But for this, I watched like it took me like 2 days to finish it, pretty much.
Yeah.
I sat through one night and I was like, all right, I need to do this. I need to finish this. I was like, I'm gonna stop at episode 12. At episode 12, I was like, well, I need to finish this part of the arc, so I need to get to 13. At 13, I was like, well, it's already begun the next part. Let's get to the next one. And I finished at 15 that night. And then the following few days, like the next day, I believe I had some issues that I needed to take care of, so I didn't watch any. The next day, I woke up at like 4 in the morning, and I was at about 8. I was like, well, let's watch some anime. And I went from 16 to finish at that point. So it only took me 2 days to finish it. Like
Yeah.
I can like blow through like shows pretty quickly if I'm interested in
Yeah.
them.
And I paid a lot more attention to this anime, even though it was in English, because when I put it in dub, I move it to the side and I just like listen to it while I'm doing some other stuff if I feel like I won't have time to actually sit down and read. But I actually watched it in English and also watched a lot of the scenery and the symbolisms just to see what I could pick out. And yeah, like I actually wrote down some of the symbolisms.
Yeah, I was actually curious to see, because I know that you know a lot more about
Like references
mythology
towards
and
these kinds of things.
Yeah, as far as these kinds of things,
Yeah.
I was actually curious to see, and you delivered.
Juan
Yeah,
delivered. He's
Juan
our
delivered.
deliverer.
my favorite, which I didn't point out, was the symbols that I posted on Discord. Which, for those that are listening,
Imagine a sun with with crescent ears,
basically,
and
and
a
if y'all want to
sun
research it,
with a crescent hat.
yeah, if y'all want to research it, just type in Google pagan lord and lady symbols, and it'll give you the if I remember the names right, because it's been forever, you'll get the triple moon, which is the waxing, the waning, and the full moon, and you also get the horned god, which is the sort of the bull symbol in the zodiac sign. They used the moon symbol, the
I was gonna say, was it for the sun and moon proxies?
yeah, but you see that symbol on the walls in the moon when the cynic shows up, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought they were going to use the sun symbol, full symbol, for the sun proxy, but they didn't.
Well, I mean, we didn't really get to see the sun proxy's actual domain. He
Yeah.
was posted up in some base, I think, actually, like that oversaw the city, because
Yeah.
he had moved in there after like his entire city went to shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he was also guilty of incompetence because, as far as I know, his people died because of their auto raves, and he was just kind of like, I looked away for a second, and when I turned back, all of them were dead.
yeah.
I mean, what do you expect me to do?
Yeah,
Stop
and
it?
then like he was having wars with the remnants of his sister's city, and he was using the auto raves that slaughtered his own people to fight them because he felt like they needed to die because his beloved had already gone to shit too. He was just killing him just to kill him for shits and giggles. Like, The guy was just. All right, he was a drunk. He was a drunk proxy.
Yeah, he was.
He was a big drunk. He was just drinking wine. Like at one point, he's chasing Vincent because Vincent killed his lover and didn't have any of his memories, which offended him.
Yeah.
And midway through the chase, he just stops, and Vincent has to go and look for him, and he finds him back in the dining room drinking.
Looking
and he's
for
just
wine.
like, why? Why are you drinking? And he's just drinking. He changed back from his proxy form and just started drinking, and he's like, it's not worth it.
So he kills him.
And then they fought, and then that's when you get to see Vincent first declaring what his name is, which is Ergo Proxy.
Ergo Proxy.
And then he dies,
He's
burning in flame, cursing him to death.
Yeah. And in the episode before that, you have these two guys that have Aztec names, which didn't make sense because they're European.
Yeah.
Hey, they gotta get it in somehow.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, dude. I mean, they had a checklist, and they needed to get all.
They were like, "Hey, you know how we're smart because we know about more than just one ancient people.
Yeah.
Here, have a little bit of Aztec.
Have all of it.
have a little bit of everything. We're gonna sprinkle everything."
And so they did.
They did.
So,
they just sprinkled it over everything.
They just used two Aztec names and then just forgot about them.
They were just like,
yeah,
all right,
there it is.
that's that.
We got it. We're going for the Anime of the Year award.
Man, this is Oscar gold right here.
Did you guys notice like production issues like with the anime, like where there were some points where it's kind of like, what happened to the budget?
Well, I remember you telling me that, and I went into this anime looking, and there were times when I told myself, yeah, I can see how this fight could have been done a lot better and than it was, and I could see what Mike was saying when he said that this anime had a bit of a production, like I guess financial issues.
They had financial. Well, Studio Monglobe had been bleeding money for years, and it's just after a while they went bankrupt actually a few years back, and people actually thought it signaled the end of anime.
The end of anime.
Because they were such a big studio that went out of their way to ship to America and other countries. And when they kind of died out, people thought, well, I mean, nobody's really looking into the foreign markets and stuff. So cue Funimation and Crunchyroll and Viz.
There's a resurgence.
There is a resurgence.
Turns out just nobody wants to buy the DVDs. Everybody just wants to stream it.
Yeah, I mean, Crunchyroll and Funimation picked up on that pretty quickly. That everybody wants to stream, and digital media is the way to go. So, I mean, they're like, fuck it. I mean, if these people don't want to buy physical shit, they may as well just stream, and it's worked so far. I mean, shit. I mean, we're using Crunchyroll.
We're using Crunchyroll.
And,
I use Funimation to watch this.
I use Funimation if I didn't hate the site's layout so goddamn much. It's such a burden to use Funimation.
I know, right?
I mean, there's no like organization list. There's no currently airing list. I mean, come on, Funimation, pick up the slack.
I understand it's a newer-ish thing for them, but seeing as I've had this Funimation account for I think 2 years, I would think that they'd change a little bit. But they don't. But it's down for maintenance right now, just so you know.
Oh shit! They've heard our complaints and they're working on it as we speak.
And as funny as it sounds, like we had a conversation before this where I knew that the anime was 23 episodes, but on Funimation I kept looking for the 23rd episode, but it would only let me get to episode 22. So I just came into this podcast thinking, well, I guess I fucked up. I guess I remembered incorrectly. And right before we started, I looked up the anime again on Funimation, and finally episode 23 came up, and I was like, well, shit, I guess that's that. And then as soon as I clicked on it, it said the website is currently down for maintenance. Come back to us soon.
The thing with the final episode of Ergo Proxy is that, as I was explaining to Noonie as we were trying to rush him through with a summary, it basically takes all of the plot points with no end and all the things that just had no explanation, and it ties them all together. Not very neatly, but it does it. And so it's like a lot of the questions that were raised, like what the fuck were they talking about during the game show? Why did they drop all this shit? No explanation. They explain most of it at the very end, and that's really it. It's just a review and them explaining the hypocrisy of creation upon creation upon creation, and how we as human beings cannot create gods. They will always be incomplete because they will be like us. And a flawed god is one that is close to humans, and that's what that went to show. Like it was kind of sad in the sense that Vincent actually went out of his way to go like, would this have worked if I didn't have emotions? And his shadow was like, probably, but they wanted us to feel emotions because they wanted us to feel the roller coaster that is being a deity, which is to be loved, to be revered, to be hated, and then cast out from society. And that's exactly what happened for all of the proxies as far as we know, because again, they didn't explore all of the domes, but
there were 300 of them.
There was 300 domes. 300 proxies were released into the world in order to repopulate it and begin the human revitalization project, which was the project's end was or the project's beginning was the signal for the end of the proxy program. And the end of the proxy program was killing the proxies. Yeah. And and that made the proxies angry because they're like, well, we're proxies. We are the representatives of our God, which was actually other people. And they're like, so, I mean, why do we have to die? But they all accepted it because they're like, this is our predetermined fate, which goes back to, the thing with the auto raves and the humans. And so Proxy 1... Ergo Proxy was like, no. And so he decided to have revenge. And his revenge was to live, essentially. And his way of living was creating Vincent. And he thought, okay, Vincent's going to live. And, he's going to live through all of this. And he's going to just lead the people and guide them with an iron fist. What Vincent does instead is run away. And so, I mean, he's understandably pissed. Because you create this guy in order to, do your bidding. And you expect him to not be a fuck-up like you are. And then it turns out he's an even bigger fuck-up. Because you're a fuck-up. And like I said, you can't... An imperfect creature cannot create a perfect creature. And that's the mistake that they constantly make. And his original self, Proxy 1, realizes that only at the beginning. I mean, only at the end. Sorry, at the beginning it wouldn't matter. But yeah, only at the end does he realize this. And so, yeah, it's just it's just the chain of events that just...
So I want to point out this article that I looked up before we did this podcast that basically was like, did you really understand what went on in Ergo Proxy and blah, 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 blah. And I clicked it and I started reading it, and it basically said what we've been reiterating this entire time of imperfect creatures cannot, or an imperfect God cannot create an imperfect God, and blah blah. And then it went on this detailed description of like, this is a deity, this is a blah blah blah. And basically after I read it, I said, so what you're telling me is, did I understand the plot of Ergo Proxy? God, I thought it was gonna be something
something like a much deep, like probably something like what Juan was explaining earlier. Yeah. Like, I guess going further into it. But even then, that's not much deeper than what we've already, discussed.
Yeah, I mean,
And it turns out, I was going to say, it turns out that a lot of people didn't get the plot.
Because they're stupid, Juan.
Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are teenagers.
And they watched it.
Like, a lot of anime fans are teenagers between, 13 and 17, 18.
Yeah.
Like, that's the money. That's the
money shot,
that's a
right?
spot.
Yeah,
right
that's the demographic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could see that because my first run through, I was about 14, and so I didn't understand what the fuck was happening. I mean, I understood parts of it, and then the rest of it was just lost on me. I guess growing up as an adult, I was like, at first I couldn't really understand why Vincent was such a bitch, and then as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that I've been a little bitch.
I understand why Vincent is a bitch.
I understand why Vincent's a little bitch. I mean,
I guess
you're
born
bitch.
you're born into this world, and then people have all these expectations of you, and then you get scared. Like, they're just like, all right, you got to grow up, you got to be doing all this shit. And then naturally you're going to be like, well, why the fuck do I have to do it? And so, I mean, that's what happened. Vincent ran off. He's like, fuck
man,
this shit.
Fuck this.
And so he just took off. So yeah, like,
Fuck
but yeah,
your
going back to the
God.
not understanding thing, like, I guess I could see why people wouldn't understand it, but I mean, I wouldn't really call Ergo Proxy an overly complicated anime. Like,
No.
it's really
by
not.
that
Like, it's not shallow, but it's not overly complicated in the
You know
slightest.
that the puddle's a little. You know, you could wet your whole foot.
Yeah, it's not a kiddie pool, but it's
not a kiddie pool.
it's
But
not-
it's not a shallow puddle. I can't splash in there because my socks are gonna get wet.
Yeah.
You know, that's scary.
You're not gonna drown in it, but you know, it's you're not gonna drown in it, and it's not gonna be, you know, just a rainy puddle. It's just kind of, it's not a kiddie pool. It's a little bit big. It's like one of those pools you buy from Walmart. They're like 4 feet, and you're like, there you go.
My brother bought one and filled it with ice and beer one day, and it was I went I went to one of his parties, and I was like, man, that's the coolest idea ever.
And then you jumped in. You're like, this is not as great as I thought it was.
No. Well, I didn't jump in because it's tiny. It's for like
I
little
would've jumped
babies. Nah, beers are hard when they have liquid inside of them and they're not open. You
Oh, you
don't
did
just
that.
jump
I
in,
thought
yeah.
you meant he filled the pool with just beer itself.
Oh
I
no,
was
that's
like,
disgusting.
I know. I was gonna say, wouldn't that burn your body? I mean, having that much alcohol just all over you. That's
No,
just...
it was like cans and bottles inside, and then he put ice in there.
Oh, I still would have jumped in.
That hurts, Mike.
I mean, it would have hurt, but I would have done it. But yeah, like it's not an overly complicated anime. But I do see this all the time. Like, it's just constant comments of people just going like, "What the fuck? I didn't understand that at all. What was the ending about?"
What you talking about, man?
Yeah,
but,
like or like where they're, and I feel like that's where a lot of the hate comes from, where people are like, "Oh, this is overly pretentious bullshit," because they don't understand it. And I know I sound retarded for saying that, but it really is because they don't fucking understand a basic plot. Like, it's not complicated. It's just not complicated. Like, it's literally just about human incompetence.
Yeah.
It was just incompetent people trying to manage incompetent people. And then,
It kind of sounds like, you know, the Christopher Nolan movies when they come out and no one gets them, and then they try to like piece the plot together and they completely misunderstand
completely
it.
missed the point.
Yeah.
I mean, the same could be said for Evangelion, where people just, like, some people don't even try to understand it, and they're just like, this is fucking stupid, it's got God and crosses.
I still haven't watched any of the 3 movies.
They're okay.
Yeah.
They're not fucking amazing, but they're okay. You can tell Anno does not want to be doing these.
No.
He does not want to be doing these, but he knows it makes the money.
It's true.
All right. So Juan, having watched it, I guess in the majority dubbed, what do you think of it?
Like a rating, or the dub
no,
in
I mean
general?
just like, what do you think of the dub?
What do
in
you think
general?
the English dub?
I liked it because, well, going back to Iggy and his sassiness, they gave him
They gave him a pretty decent voice actor.
They gave him a very, very decent voice actor, and they gave him some sass. And then when he went crazy, like he went like alpha male.
Yeah, fucking best girl went soon today.
Yeah, and I like the voices. It didn't hinder.
Or I guess not tsundere yandere.
Yeah.
He was more yandere.
Yeah. Which is weird, speaking of voice acting, because those animes around that time, and I can't say for all of them, but they seem to have pretty decent voice acting.
Yeah,
I feel like that had to do with Monglobe's bridge. They essentially created this bridge from Japan to America, and so they had access to money and a lot of like good talent. But I mean, that shit costs money, and Monglobe did not know how to manage their money, and so I mean, they blew through it, and now we got these subpar voice actors doing a bunch of stuff. But at that time, we had good dubs.
Yeah, and I try to look for the voice actors. I was like, oh, I wish they're still making dubs or still, you know, have a career.
Yeah.
And this is what I don't like about voice actors, that they sometimes use pen names. So I was looking for the.
So you
I was.
don't know.
Yeah,
I'm a real
I was-
actor. I'm not gonna be in this shit.
Yeah, and I was like looking for the voice actress for Riel, and I couldn't find her. And then I just like Googled her, and it's like, oh, she goes by this other name, and like, and then I found who it was, and like, so I think she's the voice for Nurse Joy in Pokemon.
My God.
Is she?
I really I don't know. Like I don't know. Like they
Because
use
it's
spin names like fucking candy, so I can't figure out.
That's beautiful.
And
I really enjoyed the dub. The only voice that I didn't really like was Pino's, just because it was like, I get that it's supposed to be annoying because she's just like an annoying little girl. Because it's also like kind of annoying in the Japanese dub, or dub the
I
Japanese voice. But
I didn't think Pino's voice was.
yeah,
annoying in
I liked
Japanese.
it.
no, it's not annoying in the sense that the voice is annoying. It's annoying in the fact that it's a child and it's just being annoying.
Oh well,
Like,
yeah.
I understand that it's supposed to be like that, but in the English, I feel like the actual voice was annoying as opposed to it acting like it was annoying.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was the only voice that I had actually complained about. I actually preferred Iggy's voice in English
Yeah.
to the Japanese.
Let's go shopping.
Let's go shopping.
Let's go shopping.
But Rael,
I
wait.
know the best shopping place. You wait right here. And then she
And-
fucking bolted.
And I feel like it's a good one to just skip around if you feel like skipping around.
Yeah.
As far as like voice.
As long as you.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant for
No,
episodes. I
not
was like,
episodes.
for the like. I was gonna say there's some key episodes that you can't miss. And,
Like that game show episode.
like the
I was
game, like
gonna
you
skip
needed
it.
that game show. That was plot points. The episode.
I was gonna skip it because I was like, man, Juan.
It was fucking stupid.
I just watched a stupid episode where they were in a grocery store for no reason. Just
It was a
tell
proxy.
me, tell me what else. No reason. Tell me what episodes can I skip? Can I skip the stupid game show episode? I just started watching it. I don't want to waste my time. And he was like, no, they're
They like
plot
name
points.
drop fucking Proxy One and,
then-
everything.
and then
Who's
I watched
very
it.
interested in Vincent? Well, let's tell you.
And then I watched it and I was like, there's a lot of shit going on. Why is this happening?
I love that everyone, like, at first I thought this was just like the Proxy was controlling like an alternate reality bubble or something, but as it turns out, he was fucking airing it on every available channel in Rondo.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, why is this playing? Why is fucking Vincent on the TV? And yeah, it was a good episode. I mean, it was cool because it had this sense of like eeriness. I don't know, like watching it, because they're in this game show, and you're like, why the fuck are they in the game show? And even they're like, how the fuck did we get here? And
Yeah.
he's just like going on about this shit.
Oh, speaking of that game show, did y'all notice the small like details especially with Vincent? Like in the beginning of the show,
He's just like regular, normal ass Vincent.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
regular Vincent.
well, not just that episode. I mean, like throughout the whole season, throughout the whole anime.
Series.
Overall, how he just goes from the person you see in episode 1 and he changes.
Yeah, not only that, but like physically, he looks rounder in the beginning, and then towards the end, he has like
A more defined face. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like at first he's just got a rounded face, and then like over time, like his chin, like he has a much more defined chin. His cheek, like his facial structure changes to that of his proxy form.
yeah.
I feel like that proxy form is not intimidating at all. Like I
Well,
wish,
yeah, no.
like I know it might not.
It's supposed
not
to be
supposed
imposing,
but,
maybe, but
I mean,
feel
I just
like-
saw his face and I was like, he looks stupid.
Yeah, like
I wish he put the mask on. He looks so cool with the mask.
like yeah, when he takes off the mask, it's like he's just Vincent.
He's just fucking.
Like
it's
all
just
the
a
other
normal ass-
proxies have like a mask-like structure built into their face.
Yeah,
And Vincent's just Vincent.
he's
like,
just. He's
I
just
guess
a-
because he's Proxy 1 and like they created him, they're like, all right, we made a gray person. And then everyone else is like, all right, it's time to use our creativity. This one's going to represent the
Man, look
sun
how
and
cool
the
these are
moon."
gonna look.
Yeah, like they created him with just like, they're like, all right, there you go. We made him. And yeah, like that's kind of like how they did him. One thing that bothered me was, you know how he has big talon nails or whatever?
Yeah.
In some of the shots, it looks like he has like fucking grandma nails and stuff because they just didn't bother to draw correctly. And it bothered the shit out of me. And another time where the production fucked with me was the fight where he's fighting the moon proxy. That entire fight had a lack of weight. Like, as they were fighting, their punches or when they would move, it had no weight to it. Like, it was just like they were floating. And when they hit each other, it didn't seem like there was any impact. It was just like them just hitting. It was like hitting a pillow or something. Like, it bothered the shit out of me from like a how do I put it? Like from an animation standpoint. I mean, I'm by no means a certified fucking, critique, but I was like, this looks kind of shitty.
No, you're on a podcast. You're a certified critique, Mike.
It's just, it bothered me because I was like, I mean, I don't know if it was like the production problems or if it had to do with like them just not having their footing already and like they just kind of like, this is our first actual fight or something. It's just, it looked off to me.
Mm-hmm.
The opening.
I love it.
I didn't like it that much.
I like the song.
It was a good song. The visuals for the song were a bit try hard.
Yeah.
It was like almost 2 minutes long.
Yeah, like I said,
it was annoying because I was like, after hearing it a few times, I'd have to try to skip through it, and then sometimes like it would be
you'd skip it and still be the
and
intro.
it would still be playing, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That when I watched the intro a long time ago, that's what demotivated me to watch the anime because it looked too artsy. I thought it was gonna be way too pretentious than it should be.
It reminds me like the title cards that they use and that intro reminds me a lot of Serial Experiments Lanes.
Yeah, it has that same feel to it.
Yeah, it has that exact same feel. Except I like the song in that a lot. It just grew on me. And this song, when I first heard it, I was like, yeah. Then it slowly grew on me, and I was like, this song's okay.
Yeah, it grows on you.
Yeah, I was like, it's not that bad.
It's just, like, the song's good.
But
it's just, I feel like the visuals were, like I said, a little bit too try hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the ending is,
sometimes there's, like, nothing at all.
Sometimes there's nothing at all, and then sometimes there's previews to it. Like, they actually tell you at the end of the game show to stick around after the thing. And, like, at first you're like, oh, this is just, we're not actually going to see it. But actually, if you wait till the end of the song, they actually do give a big-ass spoiler.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, it's the game show guy, and he's like, all right, you see this right here? That's where Vincent's going to fight his other half. And then they circle it and shit. And then I was like, wow, that's... I mean, he was right. He did say that they were going to give a big spoiler.
Well, he didn't lie.
He didn't lie. It was neat. The ending song, I mean, it was Paranoid Android by Radiohead. I love Radiohead. And it was good. I liked the song. And it was very... I was talking to everybody. Yes, it was very fitting because of the message of the song for Paranoid Android, which is essentially everybody screaming at you that, this guy, that you need to do something, or you need to do what I expect you to do, or you need to do what's expected of you, which is the main reoccurring theme throughout the show, which is not doing what's expected of you is not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just, don't be like Vincent where you fucking bolt... and then you try to force yourself to forget shit, and then you murder your lover. And then you try to get her clone to murder you.
Because it happens in real life.
Because that happens
in real life. Trust me, the amount of times I've tried to kill myself with the clone. Boy, I tell you.
I can't even count them on my hands. But no, it's just... I mean, I
10.
thought it was a very fitting song.
Yeah.
And it's nice that it's like... It's a Japanese studio that heard the song... and they picked it, and it was perfect for it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a lot of openings and endings that are made by English bands.
Did you do?
Yeah.
That was a really loud one.
That's what she said.
Oh.
Hey. You don't get a lot of Western bands that make... Man, Juan, you ruined it.
I'm sorry.
You don't
get a lot of Western bands that are openings and endings in animes. I feel like so being an English band,
and then coming out in an anime, that's a pretty
pretty big deal.
Yeah,
it's pretty rare. I mean,
Yeah. Speaking of European people coming out in anime, did you know that Hans Zimmer came out in anime? He came out in Blood Plus.
Did not know that, but I
didn't
also
know.
didn't watch Blood Plus.
Blood Plus was
Oh.
good.
Yeah.
I've been
Adult
told.
Swim had a really good bump for it, and it's the sole reason why I started watching it. And then I stuck around because I was like, Sayaka is pretty.
Yeah. Hans Zimmer does some of the music in there. More
Oh,
more
cool.
like towards the end, I feel, because he uses a lot of the operatic
Yeah.
and opera singing, and that's what happens
Yeah.
towards the end. So that's pretty neat that they used. Or I don't know, maybe it's I barely noticed it with that anime, but maybe there's a lot of animes that do use Western composers.
Did you guys ever see the movie that had to do with blood? It was just, I think it was just blood, and then it had like the something or other, but it wasn't
The
Blood
Last
Plus.
Vampire.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Blood the Last
Yeah.
Vampire.
We watched
They
it on
actually-
the
We actually watched that for a filler
Oh
episode.
shit!
Yeah.
I could have actually said I watched that with you guys then. But yeah, they actually, it
You
was
watched
weird
it on the
because the
same-
anime came out on Adult Swim,
Mhm.
but the movie, which was essentially the prequel, didn't come out on that channel. It came out
No.
on Sci-Fi, I believe. Was
Yeah.
the first premiere airing. And I remember because I was living with my dad at the time, and I was like, Dad, I have to stay up to watch this. And he's like, Son, you have school tomorrow. I was like, but Dad, anime. And he was like, Son, no.
fucking
And then
weirdo.
I was like, come on, Dad, don't be a bitch. And so we watched it together, and he was like, Son, that was pretty good. And I was like, I know, right?
I like Blood Plus a lot more now than I did before.
Mhm.
Because I watched it when I was like 15 the first time, and I was like, cool. And then I tried watching it again when I was a little bit older, and I was like, I can't watch this right now.
Yeah.
Then I watched it.
Yeah, I tried to watch it around the same around 15, but at that point I was like embarrassed.
Weeaboos.
You're embarrassed of being a
I was embarrassed to watch anime mostly because my family watches me watch anime, and they're like, "Why are you watching cartoons? You should be working,
Watching
you should be-"
Scrubs.
Yeah, you should be an adult, even though you're 15, and you should get a job already.
Now you're 25 watching Chowder.
I lucked
Yeah.
out because they do Chowder's the best. I lucked out because my dad has always been a fan of cartoons. He likes the more like violent or like crime,
Tom and Jerry?
crime-centered ones. I mean, he actually doesn't like those that much. I think the last show my dad has actually watched with my brother because they live together was Psychopaths. Actually, they like I recommended it to my brother, and I was like, he's like, well, show me an anime. My brother's like at that age where they're really try hard and they won't watch anything that isn't like super serious all the fucking time. And so I was like, you know what, you should watch Psychopaths.
Yeah,
And
you're
so
serious fuck.
he started watching it, and then he said that my dad started joining in, and I was like, all right then. And yeah, like they watched it, and they're all like, that was pretty fucking great. And I was like, yeah. But yeah, like I always lucked out because my parents were always like accepting to a degree of some stuff. Like my dad did hate me wasting away time doing shit on the computer all the time, but that was mainly because I got in the way of him watching TV. And I forgot where I was going with this.
You're about to rate the anime.
I was about to rate the anime.
That's what you.
Well,
Did you? Okay, stopped.
I was about to rate the anime. Well,
Yeah, you're about to rate it from 1 to 5 best girls.
1 to 5 Pino.
1 to 5.
1 to 5
Iggies.
Pinos.
1 to 5 Pinos.
How many
I'd give
Pinos
it
would you
4
give
Pinos out of 5.
4 Pinos out of 5.
4 Pinos out of 5. It had its flaws. It had production issues, but I felt like it delivered the story that it was supposed to. And contrary to, I don't know if it's popular belief or it's just a vocal minority, it was not as pretentious as people like to say. I feel like to a small degree it was, but they kept it to a minimal, and everything was pretty easy to understand.
It was a little pretentious.
It was
but
a
not-
little bit, but I felt
not
like it was
enough to,
easy enough to understand. I mean, shit, I understood the plot, and this was like my first real, actual run through of the show with an adult mindset, and I mean, as adult as a man-child can get. So yeah, like I feel like it was good. It told the story it wanted to tell,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I'd give it a 4 out of 5 Pinos.
Yeah. I give it 4 Pinos and 1 Iggy head.
When
4.1.
4.1. Damn.
4.1 because going with what Mike said, it tells a story, and this is my first watch of it, so I went in fresh, and I really really enjoyed it.
Fresh and clean, Juan.
Simple and clean.
I would go ahead and give it 3.5 Pinots out of 5 because I was actually gonna give it a little bit of a lower score, but after just like recalling the events and talking to you guys, I was like, well, you know what? I actually did enjoy this anime. I'm not gonna let my experience trying to watch it
We won't have those
hinder the
issues
actual show
anymore.
itself. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I was gonna give it like a 3, but now I'm gonna bump it up to 3 point. You know what? Let's say 3 Pinos and 5 Iggy heads.
3.5.
3, yeah, 0.5.
Yeah, all right, but yeah, that's that.
So that was Ergo Proxy.
That was Ergo Proxy. It was an experience.
It was an experience.
What would you say is the rewatchability?
What would you say is a rewatchability?
I feel like this is, for me, I feel like it's one that I'd watch like every few years maybe, but it's not one I would watch back to back or like within a few months or weeks of each other.
I'd probably have to watch it again anyway, only because I didn't actually watch it to the end from what I've seen, and because of like I said, of the circumstances behind me having to watch this.
Like you watched it, but you didn't.
But I didn't
watch.
Yeah, I didn't actually. I got into it at certain points, but I was always like, "Come on, hurry up! I have to do this for the podcast."
I don't care about his reason to try.
I don't know. I feel like this is one of the animes that I would easily forget for some reason. I don't know why I feel like that. So I don't know. For me, it would be maybe a couple of years, probably.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Like I said, I'd forget, and then I'd be like, let's give it another go. I don't remember shit about it.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I was surprised I remembered it the first time when we talked about it. I was like, oh shit, that's that anime.
I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, I would suggest the next anime we watch is Technolive, but I don't want to keep up the
anime of the year.
Well, not just that. I just don't want to keep a rhythm of just sad animes.
Dark dystopian,
grimy, dystopian animes.
Somewhat cyberpunkish, eyeshadow-driven shows.
Yeah, Technolive is
very eyeshadow-driven.
No, it's very suffering driven. Everybody suffers in that.
But eyeshadow is suffering, Mike.
Yes. Everyone suffers because there's no eyeshadow.
Exactly, there's a severe shortage of eyeshadow, and it just kills them. But yes, that's like I said, I agree with Juan. I'd watch it every few years or so, or something like that, after I forget most of it.
So as I pointed out while Mike chopped me down, we're gonna be doing an anime of the year thing in not the next episode, but the episode following. That's, I guess, it'd be 4 weeks from now. The reason being, I'm trying to watch all the animes that we put on this list that I feel like actually could be the anime of the year, whatever. I actually don't like doing any of this. Like I whenever people talk about anime of the year, I'm always like, no, it's stupid. But we're gonna give it a go. I'll see if it actually is stupid, and if it is, then I'll stop doing it because fuck that. But due to that, and trying to keep up with our little kind of underground and popular theme that we try and keep going every episode, the next anime will be Furikuri. Woo! Reverse Coming of Age. FLCO. Yeah. FLCO, your favorite 6-episode show.
Yeah.
The show that everybody watched. Yeah, the show that anime is actually anime. Adult Swim is actually funding another season for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. And we'll see where FLCO goes whenever we watch it. And as
I gotta
always,
bust out the VHS tape that I got at the
holy
show
shit.
on. I actually do have a VHS with like all the old commercials.
Let's go.
Oh my
let's go
God.
buy a $50
Let's
VHS.
go buy a $50 VHS.
Because you know what? They're retro now, Mike.
They're retro, and
So
every,
now-
every hipster wants one.
You can't just buy it for like $3 on the sidewalk anymore. Now it's vintage.
It's fucking vintage, and it's hard to get.
It's hard to get. Like my dick.
Mhm.
But as always, you can reach us at mbtpodcast@gmail.com. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/mbtpodcast. On Twitter, we are Magical Broadcast. Because MBT Podcast was taken. That should be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been your magical hostess with the mostest, Noonie, joined by my beautiful guest. And I guess we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
We will try not to make late releases again.
Yeah,
Bye.
now that we've been situated.
Now that we've been situated and we have this beautiful studio. And
This gorgeous studio. I'll post a picture of it on
fitted with
on the
all
Facebook
latest
and the
equipment.
Twitters. All the latest
All the
equipment.
latest equipment.
So many Mikus. Just a one, but so many.
Kiss X cis figures.
Hey. Yeah, a lot of people don't like that show, and I understand it, but you know.
I don't like it because it's fucking blue ball the
Yeah,
anime.
yeah. And you know what? Some of us like the idea.
I can't take it, man. I just can't deal with that. Like it's just.
And the worst part is that dojins just have them being fucked by faceless men.
I
Just
think that's like people taking out
Their frustration. They're just
on
like,
the show
God.
itself. Fuck these guys. His brother doesn't get shit, and so they just do that.
They're just like, you know what? The brother isn't gonna get shit in our dojins either. It's gonna be me without a face.
Faceless. Speaking of grandpa.
Speaking of God. All right. Say bye. Bye.